We're going to call the meeting to order. My name is Jefferson Braslow, and I've been appointed as Special Magistrate pursuant to Chapter 162 Florida Statutes to hear code enforcement matters brought before the City of Gainesville. Pursuant to Chapter 162, those of you charged with violating a provision of the City of Gainesville Code of Ordinances are entitled to a formal adjudicatory hearing, or also known as a quasi-judicial hearing, to determine if a violation exists, to determine if you have a defense to the violation, and ultimately if you are determined to be guilty of violating an ordinance. I will impose a penalty upon you in accordance with the applicable law. The maximum penalty is $1,000 per day. As part of the formal adjudicatory hearing, you are entitled to specific rights which are not necessarily limited to the following. You are entitled to hear the charges against you and to see and hear the evidence against you. You have a right to testify on your own behalf. You have a right to cross-examine and question those that testify against you. You have a right to call your own witnesses. I will, at my discretion, be applying the Florida rules of evidence in my decisions. With that said, I want to go ahead and swear in those that will just the officers, and then any of the participants that come forward, I'll swear them in when you come forward. So if the officers would rise that are going to testify today, I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with City of Gainesville versus Investors Realty Management. That's Special Magistrate number 2022-131. Officer Souza, you may proceed, sir.
Good morning. Special Magistrate case number 2022-131. The address is 2360 Southwest Archer Road. The parcel number is 06765-010-101. The property owner is Investor Realty Management. The property zoning is RFM8. So if you look right here, this is Campus Edge to the north. Reference point, this is Southwest Archer Road, and the Wawa right across the street to the south.
Okay, which is the property that's at issue?
Campus Edge condominiums.
Okay.
Right up here. And
okay,
then you have the...
I'm going to probably need to deal... let me just say, for the record, for the benefit of the respondents, I was litigation counsel on a case dealing with the Campus Edge condominiums. It's been many years ago, but I was counsel and represented the Campus Edge Condominium Association, I believe was the client, Inc. And so I'm very familiar with the history of that complex. So I'm not sure what this is and what the issues are, but I feel like it's appropriate for me to disclose that to see if anybody wants to make an appropriate, make a motion of any type, and let me hear kind of what's going on. That make sense?
Yeah. May I?
Sure.
Well, actually...
Come on forward.
Yeah.
Speak into the mic, and you'll need to state your name for the record, and you'll need to be sworn. Are you an attorney?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can we get your name?
Yes, Scott Kiernan, Becker Polyakov, counsel for Campus Edge Condominiums.
Okay.
And I believe, I appreciate you stating that, because the problems here do stem from the original construction defect case that I assume that you were a part of, that the association did not end favorably for the association. They did not get any recovery to make any of these repairs.
Right.
So in that regard, I respectfully would think you would have some sort of conflict there.
Well, I mean, the issue is whether whether you can state an appropriate motion, I guess, to have me recused, or whether you want me recused. And,
Well-
and likewise from the city of Gainesville too. I mean, it kind
Okay.
of cuts both ways, right? I'm very familiar with the history. I'm very familiar with the problems.
Okay.
Right?
Well, then at this time, I would not make a motion to recuse you. I believe you can be fair and neutral.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Should I proceed further?
No, let's let
Okay.
Officer Sosa proceed with his presentation. Let's see what the evidence is, and
Thank you.
and look, there may be a point after, because I don't know what this is about yet.
Yeah.
There may be a point where I say, look, guys, maybe I should recuse myself.
Sure.
But I think I want to assure you and the city that I can be fair and impartial in this matter.
I believe that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Pete Backhouse, Code Enforcement Manager. I agree with Mr. Kiernan's statement. We believe it's appropriate for you to continue at this point. We won't make a motion to have you recused.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you. On August 16th, Supervisor Todd Martin directed me to attend a meeting with GFR Inspector Kelly DeRasmo and the Campus Edge Association to discuss the future repairs of several unsafe hazardous buildings, Building 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 11, and the removal of temporary shoring that has been in place since 2014. The ordinance violated is 304.1.1, unsafe conditions. The following conditions shall be determined as unsafe and shall be repaired or replaced to comply with the International Building Code or the International Existing Building Code as required for existing buildings, for siding and masonry joints, including joints between the building envelope and the perimeter of windows, doors, skylights are not maintained, weather resistant or watertight. 5, structural members that have evidence of deterioration or that are not capable of safely supporting all nominal loads and load effects. 7, exterior walls that are not anchored to supporting and supporting elements or are not plumb and free of holes, cracks, breaks, and loose or rotting material, are not properly anchored or are not capable of supporting nominal loads and resisting load effects. And 12, exterior stairs, decks, porches, balconies, and all similar appurtenances attached thereto, including guards, handrails, are not structurally sound, not properly anchored, or that are anchored with connections not capable of supporting all nominal loads and resisting all load effects. Here's a photo of, on August 17, of building number 2. The temporary shoring is what we're looking at here. That's been in place since 2014. Again, this is building 3. Some more photos of the temporary shoring. The building 4, more temporary shoring right here. Building 5 also has temporary shoring, but you could also see that there's some deterioration or some kind of rotting going on here on the siding. And then this is building 8, same issue with the temporary shoring. Building 11. And then this is one of the shoring points where there's underlying rotting issues. You could see right here that Mr. Rasmo pulled that out of the hole right here, and it's just kind of crumbling. So there's a systemic rotting issue there. And then you can see some corrosion going on with the stairwells. And this is throughout several buildings at this site. And over here you could see the hole on the ceiling. The case timeline, on August 16, I made contact with Fire Inspector Kelly DeRasmo, who's the complainant, Connie Calhoun, and Ms. Williams, who are part of the association for the property. We discussed at length the fire safety issues of this property from the perspective of the fire inspector and the unsafe conditions of building 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 11. After the meeting, we walked throughout the property with the property management to shine some light on several violations found on the exterior of the occupied structures and the hazardous safety conditions. The property management team informed us that they would be hiring an engineer firm to start the process to correct unsafe conditions. Now, there's a side note. On August 19th, I sent out a notice of violation, but I had to reissue it due to the property ownership discrepancy on there. I initially sent it to Vesta Management, who maintains the property, but on property appraisers, it shows Investor Management Realty as the owner, so I had to reissue the NOV to them.
Okay.
On September 7th, Campus Edge Association emailed me a signed contract with GSE Engineering Consulting, who were hired to inspect the temporary shoring. On October 4th, Supervisor Todd Martin directed me to issue the notice of violation and request for a magistrate hearing due to the safety hazard to the structure. The temporary shoring has been present since 2014, and it would take more than 6 months to draw up plans and start repairs according to GSE Consult. On November 22nd, 2022, a notice of violation was sent to Investor Realty Management via standard mail, first-class mail, as well as postings at City Hall and the owner property with a correction date of December 7, 2022. On December 15, 2022, Supervisor Nicole Lardner conducted a follow-up inspection of the property on my behalf, and no repairs have been made. On this date, Supervisor Lardner requested a hearing with the special magistrate. December 20th, 2022, Campus Edge legal team, Becker and Polyakov, emailed Supervisor Lardner with shoring evaluation conducted by GSE Engineering. On December 21st, notice of hearing was posted to the property in City Hall. And on January 1st, 2023, I re-inspected the property and found the violation had not been corrected. And then this is a copy of GSE's evaluation. I have a copy here for you to see if.
Yeah, let me see that. I'll admit this is Exhibit 1. Where's the rest of the letter?
Excuse me, sorry.
Thank you. Exhibit 1.
Kind of shows the evaluation of buildings 2, 3, 4, and 5, 8 and 11, and it shows the underlying systemic rotting issues at the bottom of the page here, and it also states that the removal of the temporary shoring should have been done after 2 years. It could have not lasted longer than 2 years. So that was an issue we were having. And here's a photo from yesterday showing there's still the underlying systemic rotting issue that hasn't not been repaired. The staff recommendations, adjudication of guilt, assess administrative costs as $244.42 plus all other costs accrued. Allow 30 days to bring the violations to compliance, and if compliance is not achieved, assess a fine of $1,000 a day.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
May I hear from the respondent? Ma'am, if you're going to be speaking, let's get you sworn in. State your name for the record.
Diane Hancock?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, sir, you may proceed.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you. So one of the problems is the notices here that started back in August keep going to this Investor Realty Management. And so the association doesn't get notice of this till well after the fact. Even before that happened, this association went through the process of securing a large loan to fix every building out there for a comprehensive repair, a loan that's going to be a multi-million-dollar loan. And to get these loans, it's not easy. You've got to go through a lot of underwriting, and there's a reserve study. They were in the process of they got the loan earlier in 2022, but the bank then required a reserve study. They had it much earlier in the year, but the bank said, you got to go out and get a reserve study. Of course, the reserve study shows they've got to fix the buildings, right? So they had to get that, then they got the loan, then they hired us. We put them in touch with, I'm a board certified construction attorney under the Florida Bar. So I know about all these building code violations. I do construction defects all the time. I don't disagree with the photos there that they have systemic construction defects that need to be taken care of. But what they can do is rely in Florida on a professional engineer, a PE, to give them that advice. I put them in touch with one of the top PEs in the state. He has already been working on the plans to submit out to the bids to the contractors. So the financing is in place. Then you have to hire the engineer. The engineer has to formulate the scope of work, the plans to bid out to the contractor. Those are scheduled to be done, finalizing the repair drawings on 1/25. I believe Marcon Forensics is that engineer, and I've been in touch with Marcon Forensics. They've also tried to get in touch with code enforcement. I've sent 2 letters to code enforcement on this, letting them know what's going on. In the meantime, GSE, who is the shoring engineer, said, your shoring is fine. It can stay. It will support the buildings. It can remain. We said, we need a letter to that effect. Obviously, he puts in the letter that it's temporary shoring. Nobody disputes that it's not temporary shoring. A lot of these buildings were repaired pre-COVID. There were permits pulled to get more buildings repaired, but that got delayed because of the COVID situation. But I'm not going backwards to blame anything on COVID. I'm just here to say that we've let code enforcement know that we are on it, that this board, this is Diane Hancock, she's a member of the board of directors. There's 2 other board of directors that I talk with monthly. The engineer communicates monthly with how they're doing on the process. And it's all about bidding the work, which they believe is going to be bid to the company that did the work previously.
Right.
So that company has said they can do the work, assuming that the engineer approves them, the board approves them. This is a situation where there's not going to be any, like they want to drive a hammer within the next 30 to 60 days. It takes time. The repair drawings are done. That's bid out to the contractors. They'll get 2 or 3 bids and they'll hire a contractor to start immediately. There is no ownership approval needed for this. And if there is, they're going to be asking for the ownership from forgiveness later, not for permission up front. Because a lot of times in condominiums, you do need ownership approval. They don't need that. You have the loan in place. You have a professional engineer that is there to finish the repair drawings. The engineer has already issued 2 reports as well, saying that what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and they're going to bid it out to the contractor. And they're fully funded for the loan, no matter how much it costs. Every single building there. In the meantime, all they can do is rely on their engineer. Their engineer's like, your buildings are fine. There's not going to be a problem here. I can call the code enforcement and let them know. I believe we both tried to do that. That didn't result in any type of dialogue back and forth. And then also the shoring engineer has said the shoring is fine. The shoring engineer was upset because he didn't get paid for something. He said the association resolved that with him. He went back out. He said, I'll issue the letter, no problem. And he said the shoring is fine, and I will continue to inspect the shoring.
So is there another letter other than?
No, he issued the letter that we're talking about. We needed that letter from him. It was like, hey, if you say the shoring is fine, please let him know.
I mean, I'm talking about the one that was introduced on.
Right, that's the letter I'm talking about too. But the result of that letter is he's saying that these buildings are acceptable. The shoring in place will do its job. It's not meant to go another 5 years. We're not meant to go without a contract in place for another 5 weeks if we can help it. And our engineer, who's a very busy man but very good, he says 1/25, January 25th, I'll have the repair drawings done. We can immediately submit that to bid for the contractors, likely going to be the contractor, the buildings that have already been completed. As you may know, every building in there suffered from defects, but they did take care of 5 of the buildings. It's just that there's the other 5 now that really need to be taken care of. 6, sorry, my bad. So of those 6, the funding's already in place, the loan's in place, the engineer's in place, and all we need is the contractor. So I can't imagine it's taking much longer.
Can rather than going to straight to fines and so forth, is it possible to develop a schedule that you would be willing to be bound to?
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to hold, like once you do find the contractor and they agree to do the work, We want them to start right away because we have the money to do it, right? But they may say, well, I can't start for 30 days. I have to get the materials, da-da-da. But
Yeah, have you talked to the
no, because they
contractor?
need to get the repair drawings
Yeah,
to
they-
the contractor,
see,
which is by the end of the month.
this is why it's dangerous to, I guess, to have somebody. I mean, the way I understood the contractor to work is that it was called forensic construction, right? Where he would just dig into the building and then they would take the siding off and determine what scope needed to occur. And of course, all the buildings are built the same way, and so they were able to, the first 5 that were repaired were kind of done that way. We had some plans that were already prepared by GSE, and they just dug in and
I guess for
And-
whatever
and
reason,
fix
prior boards maybe from 16, 18 never went forward and wanted to do because they didn't have the money, they didn't want to spend the money.
But they did do the first 5.
Yes, they did.
And
it-
that scope of work seems like it would have worked for the remaining buildings.
It's a $4 million job to finish these other 6 buildings.
Okay.
It's a $4 million job. And so we want to make sure that the engineer, who's already done a report showing all of the forensic evaluation.
So have you spoken to the contractor to see when they can actually start?
No, because they want to bid it out to more than one contractor. They want to just bid, the repair drawings are done on 125, they can immediately bid that to the contractor. So the contractor, they want to bid it to 2 or 3 contractors, which this engineer knows how to do. I know they're involved in this process all the time. So that may take a couple of weeks.
This is, I'm trying to be a little innovative.
I understand.
Okay, because I understand the gravity of what's going on here. What I feel like is that the city needs
Is a schedule.
is a schedule.
And I think
And
that's
we
reasonable.
can do that schedule, and what I'm thinking is, okay, bid process will be completed by. The the contract shall be entered by. Contractor shall commence by.
Right.
A schedule of the buildings. And I think if we can, and I'd be interested in the input of the city from this, but I think if we can bind the association to a specific schedule of repair, that may satisfy the concerns of the city at this point.
And I
because
think
this has been going on for a very long time, and understand the pandemic got in the way, and understand a lot of things got in the way.
Oh, they went bankrupt too. By the way, they were working on getting the security and the funding and the loan before code enforcement even got involved. That was already underway earlier in 2022. It wasn't like code enforcement posted something on the property that they found out about a month later and they go, oh, we got to go out and get a loan. They had already secured that funding and we're in the process of finalizing their reserve study.
Let me hear from Mr. Backhouse
Yes,
and
sir.
see
Yes, sir.
how he feels. Don't go away, but let me hear from Pete. And
Sure.
Mr. Backhouse, so how do you feel about trying to set up a schedule of compliance so that,
Well,
this is a complicated problem with multiple buildings. It's been going on for many years. How do you feel about such a thing?
My biggest concern is the life safety portion of this, where the fire inspector has brought to our attention that there are imminent hazards there. So I need reassurance that whatever is in place is going to continue to exist throughout the process, that somebody isn't going to get hurt as a result of that. I mean, the obvious photo evidence of one of the beams rotting at the base where you're able to pull stuff out of it, that doesn't reassure me that that's going to remain there much longer in an intact manner. So I'm not as concerned with the time to get it repaired. I'm concerned about making sure that those things will remain structurally sound through the process.
Does the report from the shoring engineer satisfy your concerns to some
Yes.
measure?
Yes, the shoring has been there 8 years, 6 years beyond what its lifespan was supposed to be according to the engineering report.
Can we also request the association to prioritize so that the buildings that have the most significant damage get repaired first?
That would certainly make sense, yes.
I mean, I think that there's probably somewhat equal damage, but at some point, if it's observable like you were pointing out, the beam at the structural column at the bottom, that's a pretty significant problem, clearly. Because what you can see doesn't show you what you can't see.
Exactly.
But if they prioritize and go off the recommendations of a professional engineer, I don't know that we can do much better.
I just want all due diligence done to assure the safety of the people who are using those stairwells.
There's a part of me that says that this is a little much to do in a meeting like this, and that perhaps what needs to occur, and I'm not, and I don't mean to have you come back, but it seems like to me maybe their team needs to meet with your team and develop this schedule based upon and a timeline of events that we're going to proceed by. I think the association needs to recognize y'all need to accelerate. You need to move faster with, more concern, and then the city kind of maybe needs to recognize that they're stuck. Right?
We fully appreciate the fact that we know this is going to be a long-term process. We know
it's
it's
gonna
not going to
take
happen
years.
overnight. Our concern is it's been going on for over 8 years.
Well,
And I understand that it wasn't your fault that it's been going on for 8 years, but the ball is now in your hands. So we need it fixed.
They want it fixed more than anything.
So what I would be looking for and wanting to rule on is so I would structure it like this. We'd have a schedule, and at each intersection deadline of the schedule, we would identify that would be a violation if it were exceeded. And we would just kind of manage that schedule through time. Now you meet the schedule, and then you'd have a next deadline. And it would give everybody something that y'all could negotiate.
Perhaps including something like, while the process is ongoing, regular inspections to ensure the integrity of what's still there.
Yes, and concerns of the fire department, I guess. All these things would be now it would take cooperation between the parties, but I'm confident that given the nature and gravity of this problem, that would be appropriate. That the city, the code enforcement, fire department, all the life safety issues would be addressed on a regular basis until this is fixed. And I tell you, I think that it will probably improve the project significantly, which is already difficult, and will probably be in everybody's best interest to say, okay, I mean, how often, you never see issues of this gravity. And that's why I think it's appropriate for the government side of things to step up and participate more than what would be normal. What I'm suggesting, and I don't know if we need to talk about what we need to go into the schedule. There are clear steps of construction. You've been doing construction your entire career. I do quite a bit. You just need to lay out that schedule and then bring it back to me next month. How does everybody feel about that? How do the two parties feel?
We agree. We're really at the point, if I have to just dumb it down to just, we have plans, bidding, hammering. We're that close, and I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen. The literal hammering of the starting of the work within 90 days. If we can bid this work out next month, by the end of the month, get the plans, bid the work out next month, get the contract to start 30 days later, that's in a 90-day period. And once they start, they're not stopping. We're fully funded. As far as an engineer, this PE is being hired to monitor start to finish. He has said there is no imminent life safety issues right now. There is not. And his job, I said, this guy needs to stay on to the end. He needs to sign every pay application. And that's what he's being hired.
Well, there are two factors there that need to be included in this schedule. First is there needs to be confirmation that the financing is readily available. So that proof of that, I would hope it could be easily provided, and as well as the professional engineer will need to sign and seal and present to the city a plan or at least opinion that it's structurally sound.
Okay.
And then I think if we can negotiate the time schedule, which are the details that I think are too much for this meeting. How many days do you need, and why do you need them? And y'all work through that. And city's going to push, and you're going to say, hey, this is, I need this, amount of time to accomplish this. Y'all figure that out, and then bring it back, and we'll take that schedule, make it part of the final order in the case, and then lay that out, and then y'all can bind yourselves to that schedule.
So really what we're talking about here is only adjusting the amount of time to bring the violation into compliance based on whatever schedule it takes.
I mean, I would be inclined to. I'd be inclined, the administrative costs are something that we do in every case, so it's difficult not to do those. I would evaluate the amount of fine per day, and remember, even if we enter a final order that says this is how much, or if the penalties commence and they start to accumulate, there's always an avenue to bring those in and have those reduced. We do that regularly.
Okay.
Okay? I don't think that will come into play, but just so you kind of understand how our process works. I'm sure you've been in code enforcement before.
So we look forward to hearing back after the 25th and setting up a time to meet after that.
Right, so I would think that we could propose the things that you need, the PE safety opinion, the financing, and the schedule, and submit that to the
And I think you need to get it going. I mean, what I would think is I'm going to enter an order. I'm going to, I guess, on my own, continue this matter to the next code enforcement hearing, and by that time, all this needs to be taken care of so that I can rule.
Okay. When would that be?
February 9th.
February 9th.
Second Thursday of February.
So, any questions or concerns before I continue the case?
We'll have submitted our proposed schedule to
And y'all
the city.
will have negotiated that schedule.
Sure. Yeah. They want to start yesterday, but now we have to wait on the plans to finish from the engineer that's super busy, who promised for them by the end of this month. Then we have to wait for the contractor to sign off on the agreement. Then we have to wait for the contractor to start. So we want it all to happen right now because we have the financing now.
Well, I mean, it has been a long time that the buildings have been in that condition. It's their job to push. It's their job to bring the property. It's clearly not in compliance. There's no question that it is a life safety issue, and it needs attention. And so it's their job to make sure it's getting that attention. And so I'm hoping that this is a remedy that will work for both sides and get it accomplished for all the citizens that live in those buildings who also deserve to have it repaired.
What you're seeing is a lot of photos of stucco, deteriorated stucco. But the engineer's saying the actual guts of the building, the framing is still...
It's all those exterior
I understand.
components, all the porches and all the
Right,
stairwell corridors.
We don't want any
I
stucco
know.
falling on anyone. Right. Obviously. So,
Okay, so with anything else? Okay, so my ruling here today is I'm going to continue this matter to the next special magistrate hearing to be conducted on February the 9th. And in between now and February 9th, the parties are to get together and enter a schedule and provide adequate proof of the financing and the report from a structural engineer that the life safety issues, that the buildings are safe.
Okay.
And then the rest of the schedule on contracting, commencement of construction, And I think it would be appropriate to even, what I'd like to see for purposes of the city is that there's a schedule of how the buildings are going to be built, which buildings are going to be started. That opinion needs, so those guys need to get out in the field and they need to render an opinion on that.
Yeah, I realize, but this is less than a month to the next hearing. Is there any way we could maybe push it out to the next hearing? I don't know if I'm gonna have all of that.
No, I don't want to push it out any further than that.
Okay.
You see what you can, I know you'll do your best.
Thank you. We will.
I mean,
We will.
and I'll rule accordingly. I mean, it's not, I want to see what y'all can pull together in the next month.
Understand.
And where are you from?
Well, I'm in the Orlando office, but I'm also in the St. Augustine office a lot. And I'm in
Okay,
the
so you're not
office.
terribly far.
Seems like I'm on the road more than I'm in the office. I don't have any problem. I came up this morning, so.
Okay, so that's my ruling. Any questions or concerns?
No, thank you to the panel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The PowerPoint from staff is admitted as Exhibit 2. Next item is going to be City of Gainesville versus Swilochin, Davos North, and Kamalati. And it is Special Magistrate Case Number 22-16240. Right? And I believe that this matter is to be continued.
Yes, sir.
And what's the status of the case?
They're currently making repairs on the issues on the back deck roof area. They were working on it, and they were completing it. Probably be done this weekend or soon.
Okay. And so if they continue with the scope that they presented to you,
Yes.
They'll be in compliance?
Yes, sir. I'm in contact with the property owner, and they're getting it moving now.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next one will be Officer Jones. This will be City of Gainesville versus Hunters Crossing PD owners, Special Magistrate Number 2022-129. You may proceed, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Case, Special Magistrate Case 2022-129. There's no address, it's a vacant lot, but the parcel number is 06053003000. Property information, parcel number, as I said before, 06053003000. The owners are Hunters Crossing, PD. Property zoning is PD. Ownership was established by researching official public records and documents. Okay, so the property is like the vacant lot is like right here,
Okay.
and the home is here, but it's on 43rd Street, 43rd and 39th, that area over there.
Okay.
On October 25th, 2022, I received a complaint from the city arborist about a dead hazardous pine tree behind 4428 Northwest 44th Place. It was located on a vacant lot that is owned by Hunters Crossing HOA. I attempted to try to find contact information for the HOA, but was unsuccessful. Both certified and regular mail was returned. This is the tree. It's I can tell you how tall it is, but it's directly behind this home right here. So the arborist said it would be hazardous if it fell on
Yeah, was it reported by a citizen or was it
the city arborist.
city arbor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's another shot from the side. The ordinance violated was 1317 on adoption. Then we had 301.2 responsibility. Corrective action was to cut down or remove the large hazardous dead pine tree from the property, as well as remove all debris. When complete, the tree is located directly behind 4428 Northwest 44th Place. Case timeline, October 25th, 2022, I received a complaint from the city arborist that there was a dangerous pine tree that was putting the home on 4428 Northwest 44th Place at risk. I conducted my inspection. It was concluded that the tree was indeed a risk for the home and needed to be removed. A notice of violation was issued. On November 1st, 2022, I issued a notice of violation. On November 2nd, service was achieved by posting the property and City Hall with a notice of violation. On December 13th, I conducted a follow-up inspection of the property, and the tree had not been removed yet. So, on December 28th, 2022, notice of special magistrate hearing was posted on the property as well as City Hall. And on January 1st, 2023, I re-inspected the property and found the violation had not been corrected. This is the photo I took yesterday of the tree. It's a little closer so you can see it. That's the tree from the side of the house. It was like almost directly behind the house.
So what is it, in an easement or something?
It's a fence behind the home, but the property is like a huge lot that goes, I think, to the other.
But it's not developed.
No, no, sir.
Okay. Now, what did you do to try and find the address of the association? You go into the state of Florida's corporate website and look.
I went to the Alachua County
property
appraiser. That's the address they had posted for their on their property appraiser. The address that I sent.
for the association.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nobody's replied to you, huh?
No, sir.
Okay. Yes,
Can I just add a little bit to that if you don't mind?
sure. Have you been sworn?
I have not.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
It is.
Please
So
please state your name for the record.
I'm Supervisor Samantha Norris. So I helped Officer Jones. We went through multiple search avenues. We did Google, we looked at Sunbiz, we checked the property appraisers to try to get contact information from this HOA. Unfortunately, the pattern we've been seeing lately is a lot of these HOAs are defunct and nobody is taking responsibility for those. So we did try multiple search avenues to try to get some kind of contact. And
You know my concern, right? We're going to do this, and they're still not going to know about it, and the tree's not going to be addressed.
right,
And if we told them about it and we got their attention with it, they
Right.
probably would take the tree down.
And I want to assure you that we have tried multiple avenues to get some kind of contact and was unfortunately unsuccessful. But the issue too here is, and I'm sure you could see in the photographs, is the deterioration of the tree is even more. From the initial complaint, it's lost even more branches. So it is an issue and we want to try to resolve that, but we have searched the best that we can for a responsible party and unfortunately was not able to do that.
Thank you for that input.
Can I also say somebody did remove the one I posted on the property? Someone removed it from the property, so I don't know if that would be them or because I put it on the inside the fence line of the property because it's a fence that cuts the property off from the road. So I had to reach inside and tucked it in. Somebody removed it from the property.
So you did post the property?
Yes, I did.
Well, I mean, okay. Thank you, sir. Anybody here on behalf of the respondent? Seeing none, I'm going to follow staff's recommendations. I'm going to adjudicate the respondent guilty. I'm going to assess administrative costs of $170.75 plus all other costs accrued. Allow 10 days to bring the violations into compliance, and if compliance is not achieved, assess a fine of $100 a day. Thank you.
Let me make my PowerPoint.
Yes, the PowerPoint presentation is admitted as Exhibit 1. And then that is, next case is City of Gainesville versus Jason and Tracy Nearth, Special Magistrate number 2022-130. It's my understanding that case has been dismissed. I don't see anything else to come before the special magistrate today. Seeing anybody have anything to bring forward? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.